everyone, welcome back to another video where today we're going to be going over the latest Doctor Who news roundup. This includes some brand new casting information from Series 14, a recent interview with John Boyega saying he'd love to be in Doctor Who, as well as Mark Gatiss saying that he won't be involved in writing a future episode. But before we get into it, if you could do me a teeny tiny little favour and click that subscribe button, that'd be very much appreciated. We are trying to get to 20,000 and we're less than 500 away, so if you subscribe, I'll literally kiss you. I won't, but just imagine it as an incentive, unless you find me ugly, in which case, try not to imagine that at all. I also have a Ko-fi, if you'd like to help out the channel. I've been going through some financially rough times, and I want to give a special shout out to Kai Lin Verk Rokerki and Badgerton2000 for donating £10. If you donate £10 or more, you'll get a shout out in a video. I hope I have pronounced the names correctly. If I don't, feel free to correct me in the comments. That'll be my fault. But yeah, let's get into the news. The first piece of casting that I saw was Sophie Ablett. This was from TARDIS Central, but has been found on her CV. You can see here, this is the acting, agency that represents her. You can see Doctor Who should be playing a character called Marty Bridges, directed by Dylan Holmes-Williams, who's one of the directors we know is going to be directing for Series 14. So this looks pretty concrete to me. We have no idea who she's playing. At a guess, judging by the name, I'm going to assume someone more Earth-based, unless it's a pseudonym name, in which case it might be. I remember, I think Karen Gillan saying when she was auditioning for Doctor Who, they came up with like a fake name so that people didn't know what she was auditioning for. So maybe that's the case here. I doubt it. But if we go off the name alone, what I'm trying to say is that she's probably an Earth-based character, maybe a friend or family member of Minnie Gibson at a guess, but I could be wrong. Maybe she is someone who works inside or is a part of Albion, that weird political organisation we've seen. Yeah, very interesting stuff. She's not the only actor that we've seen, though. According to Ruther, dedicated Setlock reporter and leaker for the ages, has spotted 2 other CVs, has spotted 3 other CVs. Chris Roebuck, who is an editor on Series 14, again with Dylan Holmes-Williams as the director. Someone called Millie Kent, who apparently plays Valerie in Doctor Who Bad Wolf. Dylan Holmes-Williams, again, same episodes. And lastly, as we said, Sophie Ablett is Marty Bridges. So yeah, looks like we've got some new castings and crew info on Series 14, which is really cool, which does obviously indicate that filming is still very much ongoing, even though we haven't seen much public stuff in a little while. I assume a lot of it is in studio currently, which is why we haven't seen a lot. But I imagine that'll probably change. I have heard reports that there is some filming upcoming, but I can't get concrete dates down. So if I see any concrete dates, I'll let you guys know. Mark Gatiss recently spoke to Saga magazine saying that I'm not lined up to do any more Doctor Who writing, but I'm very excited for the upcoming 60th anniversary and the choice of Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor. Now, there was some rumours around Mark Gatiss returning alongside the rumours surrounding Stephen Moffat, which personally, given that they've been reported more, I always thought had more weight anyway. With Mark Gatiss, if I'm being totally honest, whilst I enjoy most of his episodes, he's not a writer I'm clamouring to see return, if I'm being honest. I enjoy his stories, however, I feel we got quite a bit of him, and there are writers who I would like to see what they would do with the show again. More writers like Tom Cray, who wrote the Series 2 two-parter, or even writers like Neil Cross, who did episodes for Series 7. Those are writers who I'd like to see more, or Neil Gaiman, if he'd ever touch Doctor Who again, has written what is, in my opinion, one of the best episodes of the revival, Doctor's Wife. And Nightmare of Silver, whilst a lot of people don't like it, I actually find a lot of good in, and to be perfectly frank, I think was changed a lot from his original vision. But I digress. Point is, whilst I wouldn't be hugely opposed to Mark Gatiss returning like some people would, I'm not someone who's like overly against it either, but it looks like it's not happening, at least for the time being. Elsewhere in the Doctor Who world, there was a Doctor Who convention, which name escapes me, and this tweet caused a bit of a stir in the community. Second Doctor companion actress Wendy Padbury shared her opinions on the Whittaker era in a recent panel, saying she observed that she liked Jodie and welcomed her casting, but felt she was let down a bit by the writing, and immediately gets a round of applause. So yeah, this caused a bit of a stir, you know, people getting mad at this for some reason. I will say the wording of the tweet is personally a bit odd. Shots fired. I don't really think it was shots fired. I think it was more just an opinion that she presented, and one that I've seen some people, not many, going after Wendy for this, and I kind of feel it's unnecessary. Like, at the end of the day, people are allowed to express their opinions on a show. It's not the end of the world. And then finally, arguably the biggest news story of the day, John Boyega said he would love a Doctor Who cameo as another Doctor. The Star Wars alumni wants to swap the Millennium Falcon for the TARDIS in a one-off episode. We've seen the likes of John Hurt, Joe Martin and Bradley Walsh pop up as versions of the Doctor in the BBC franchise, but now John Boyega is hoping to be the next short-term iteration of the Time Lord in a future episode of Doctor Who. Speaking to this week's issue of Radio Times magazine, the Star Wars lead said that he would love to cameo in the long-running BBC sci-fi show as a one-off role. When asked whether diversity and representation is improving in film and TV, the 31-year-old said, "It is opening up. You get inspired by things like Ncuti Gatwa playing the Doctor in Doctor Who. That is special to me. The glass ceiling can't limit us. It's exciting to see what comes out of this new stage of filmmaking and entertainment." As for whether he'd take on a role in Doctor Who, he added, "I would love that, but get me in an episode where I'm a one-off of many Doctors in many timelines, so I could just cameo in it. Or I'd be an assistant, whatever. I'd show up, but just for one episode." The BAFTA winner previously tackled the sci-fi genre with his first role being that of Moses back in 2011's Attack the Block, before he starred as Finn in the last 3 Star Wars films. He is currently working on a true story thriller, Breaking, as Lance Corporal Brian Brown Easley. So yeah, I personally would love to see John Boyega take on a Doctor Who role of some form. I always thought personally that he was a really deft hand in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. I personally thought that there were a lot of interesting places they could take his character, and I kind of felt that he wasn't really given the amount of stuff that he deserved to have. You know, the amount of material that I felt like he deserved to chew on. I personally wanted to see him go from disgraced stormtrooper to Jedi. I think that would be an awesome character arc, but I digress. The point is, I'd love to see him get some sort of sci-fi redemption, if you will, in Doctor Who, and I think that the fact that he's keeping an eye on the show and Ncuti Gatwa casting and stuff, yeah, I'd love that. Personally, I'm not big on the idea of him playing an alternate Doctor, mainly just because I think with the influx of one-off sort of event Doctors with the likes of John Hurt, Joe Martin, and to a lesser extent, David Tennant as 14, you kind of dilute the importance of any one incarnation. I'm okay with it in 14's case because he's for multiple episodes, not just one, so it feels like more than just a cheap gimmick and short-term thing. But after that, I really am hopeful that we get less short-term one-off Doctors, so I'd rather him play like a one-off assistant in the vein of someone like Kylie Minogue in, I guess, Voyage of the Damned as a random example. But that about wraps up this news video. If you did enjoy, be sure to give it a like, comment down below your thoughts, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.